The Secrets in the Trash. Chapter 1: Unveiling the Unexpected. Tuesday morning broke over Willow Creek with the kind of slate-gray sky that promised rain but never quite delivered. Marcus Clemons shouldered through the iron path of dawn to the recycling center, a fortress of steel and concrete that loomed over his daily life with unyielding monotony. He was a veteran of oddities, haunted by the refuse of the town's whims and forgotten tales. At 53, Marcus had seen his share of broken treasures and silent confessions relegated to the shadows of trash. With a practiced rhythm, Marcus maneuvered the refuse truck through the winding streets, morning shadows stretching over the sleeping suburb. His thoughts drifted like autumn leaves caught on the breath of the wind, until he arrived at the yawning maw of the recycling center. Flicking a switch, he let the truck's tray rise, spilling its contents into the waiting jaws of the machinery below. It was then that something out of place happened, a weighty thud that echoed sharply above the usual medley of trash. Marcus froze, his instincts tingling with unease. None of the usual broken furniture or plastic waste carried such solidity, such heavy finality. As he peered over the edge of the rusted truck bed, realism collided with the surreal. Sprawled amidst the wreckage of quotidian refuse lay the unmistakable form of a woman, cloth and skin conspicuous amidst the plastic and metal. Marcus's breath caught, and his large hand trembled over the radio as he called for help. Veronica Marsh, a woman more known than loved, lay entwined with the detritus of Willow Creek. Her presence here, ominously silent, was the city's obsession with beauty and concealment starkly exposed. Officer Lily Knight arrived shortly after, her cruiser's tires crunching over gravel. Marcus watched her approach, ever the tenacious seeker of truth, with a twinge of hope that she might unravel this nightmare scene. He remembered the Christmas party where Lily and Veronica had shared the same dais, locked in a debate about transparency versus safety that somehow had turned into a laughter-filled conversation over mulled wine. "Marcus," Lily said, her voice taut, eyes shadowed by her soft cap as she surveyed Veronica's repose, too unceremonious for a woman known for her biting wit and tenacity. "Lily, she's really—" Marcus gestured helplessly, his heart thundering with trepidation-stricken despair. "Yes, she is." Lily's voice trembled like quivering leaves in an unseen gale. Her gaze narrowed. The officer peeled back layers of possibilities. It wasn't the fact of Veronica's death that caused such turmoil. It was how violently opposed it stood against the predictability of life in Willow Creek, each revelation like a reluctant peeling of an infected wound. The pondering begun. There was more here than flesh and lifelessness. Veronica had been a woman of tenacity, her unyielding pen leaving marks that smoldered long after the printed words faded. Lily could almost hear Veronica's voice dripping with relentless questing, as if it still echoed between the gangs of machinery. Marcus, sorting his thoughts amid the specks of dust caught in the bead of advancing light, regarded Lily as she turned practical, initiating the sweep for forensic evidence. Her influence spread like ripples, instantly soothing yet terribly aware of the disorder below. Together, Marcus and Lily began to comb through not just the immediate tragedy, but the implications stringing them towards a deeper conspiracy. If Veronica had been following a story, and everything pointed to that very likely reality, his mind wandered to the recycling center. Could it be secret places within familiar confines where human actions rotted deeper than any landfill? So unfurled a chasm of deceit, money, and power, eager for expulsion. Willing their resolve to find footing in troubled times, Marcus deferred, wishing not for the first time Veronica's persistent voice was the one joining him now. Chapter 2: Treading Unseen Paths, Veronica's Legacy. Walking out of the recycling center alongside Marcus, Lily's mind swirled, seeking the briefest anchor amidst chaotic thoughts. Veronica Marsh lay tangled, not just in refuse, but entangled with the shadows of potential conspiracies, far more vicious than the town's surface innocence suggested. The streets of Willow Creek carried the commonplace comfort of mid-morning hope, a shroud oblivious to the reality Veronica's demise uncovered. It felt as though secrets were bound to each brick, hidden beneath the earth and flowing as an undercurrent. Lily's car urged her forth to curved pines, Veronica's residence and sanctuary, standing at the periphery of town. An unexpected mansion, an inheritance that shared a paradox with her unassuming lifestyle, a legacy Veronica reveled in unraveling. It would be here she believed the clues to her friend's demise might lie, tucked between the pages of unfinished manuscripts or within the whispers of the house itself. Arriving at the gates of curved pines, Lily allowed herself a moment of reflection, its towering facade feeling both ghostly and timeless. Inside, it was as if Veronica's spirit lingered, still questioning, still probing the truth. Once inside, Veronica's study drew Lily immediately. Lit by the soft glow of an overcast day filtering through the stained glass, it was a realm where chaos met creativity, a whirlwind of papers, newspapers, and scrawled notes. It felt lived in, vibrant, a comforting testament to Veronica's relentless pursuit of truth. As Lily scanned the volumes of paper, her gaze landed on a leather-bound journal positioned prominently. This was Veronica's working manuscript, a collection of thoughts awaiting their transformation into the pulsing narrative Veronica breathed life into. Opening to a marked page, Lily sucked in a deep breath as she discerned Veronica's familiar handwriting, lines and verses bearing witness to her next big exposé. Embezzlement, corruption, names. Names of powerful residents that stood at the pinnacle of the town's economic structure, all threaded ominously in the web of deceit centered around the recycling center. Here, amidst Veronica's thoughts unfurled amidst the chaos, was a blueprint. Names Lily couldn't contemplate without a shudder of disbelief. Council members, banking officials, even her own police precinct. Wealth and prestige laid stark against vanity and greed. The unthinkable had crawled into the town's heart, its roots deep beneath its perceived tranquility. Yet, with awareness came danger. Lily felt the weight of incoming threats, hidden like shadows in corners yet unseen. She sensed that Veronica's detective work must have pressed all the wrong buttons, her courage instilling desperation in those driven to uphold their facades by any means necessary. Leaving the journal as it was, resting amongst the annotated articles and highlighted papers, Veronica had folded in quiet fury. Lily felt the urgency blaze hotter to uncover motives and bring to light what was too long hidden. Had Veronica left any further clues? Had she confided in anyone? From the windows of curved pines, the serene imagery of Willow Creek betrayed none of the inner treachery unraveling within Lily's mind. Here she stood on the precipice of revelation, one threatening to sweep her career, her friendships, into inevitable entropy. Her determination solidified. Within this strife, she knew truths must not wane into darkness. Chapter 3. Silent Whispers of the Past, Marcus's Interrogations. Meanwhile, Marcus found himself lost in thought outside the confines of Willow Creek. Each venue visited, friendly faces, and meandering conversations all serving to unearth who Veronica had entrusted with her final, precious pieces of truth. Marcus remembered Ed, the elderly bookseller who Veronica often conversed with. His rustic shop was a place of solace, where type set into print, inky pages held their own stories and memories like a tapestry curated over years. Marcus wondered if it held answers. Inside Ed's store, the lingering scent of parchment and dust, seasoned with history, abdicated to Marcus a boundary between past and present. Ed, seeing Marcus arrive, greeted with thoughtful nods rather than words, their friendship suffused with silent understanding. Marcus, Ed now gently broke the silence, his hands slow and deliberate as they leafed through a pile of newly arrived texts. "I heard about Veronica. Dreadful." Marcus nodded, eyes searching Ed's carefully placid gaze, knowing it held depths of unseen knowledge, knowing he'd been there, watching. "Have you talked to her recently? About what she was working on?" Marcus asked, hoping any fragments might suffice to lend clarity. Ed paused, allowing silence to sharpen their mutual remembrance. Light pooled, flickered into mismatched mirth that had Louise untapped willingly until truth formed aloud. "She came by," Ed noted, choosing memories with the delicacy they deserved, but she chose her words like stained glass, showing much, letting only a fraction be seen. Marcus nodded, absorbing how protective woodshed trust, its windows elliptical to each fret of conversation, ultimately needed regard once it brightened. "Did she tell you what was next?" Ed's gaze drifted towards the corner where yellowed maps bore witness to their stationary time. She had names, contacts she wouldn't disclose easily. But Marcus, when Veronica spoke of shaking the very haven within which we shelter, paranoia builds castles of its own. A sigh echoed through the stratified clutter, and Marcus knew restless grief was setting its roost. This final thread of understanding, given voice within the breadcrumbs of Veronica's path, inscribed the harder allies together against the unseen war. "Thanks," Marcus breathed, facing steady yet not shedding awareness, meeting his grief at loose odds, a small soldiering, a battle of silent revelations. It seemed now that the very earth of Willow Creek trembled with secrets yearning for light. Leaving the bookstore, Marcus drifted in thought, the weight of both action and introspection heavy on his shoulders. Veronica had entrusted her mission to him, to uncover what was so deeply entwined with the recycling center, where Veronica had woven her last celestial rope. He recalled the workers at the recycling center. Marcus had always believed in the simplicity of work, a place to lose oneself amidst methodical movement, but without doubt, now suspicion whispered its chilling truths into his ears. There was more at play. Was there someone within who could betray so silently, so cruelly? As Marcus returned to his rounds, he sensed how shifts and shadows at every corner were cast into stark focus, almost as if the town itself yearned to confess. Too methodical to leave crumbs unforeseen, Marcus felt the unspoken rhythms and quiet interactions as his allies, unraveling the tapestry. Now, suspended between disbelief and acceptance, Marcus resolved to involve the workers, not as strings to pull, but as gentle tethers with insights binding each forsaken thread of truth. Encoded within conversations, unwoven by fate, insights awaited discovery. Chapter 4, Echoes Amongst Shadows. Lily's unraveling. Simultaneously, Lily stood among Veronica's remnants, the house heavy with a legacy intertwining emotion to responsibility. Every room was a time capsule. Even Veronica's laughter seemed to linger in corners not yet washed away by grief. It was here, in these spaces, Lily knew she must plunge, deeper into Veronica's past dealings, to decode whispers once considered mundane. Her attention shifted to Veronica's laptop, perched on the edge of her desk. Stark, beckoning, its significance too mighty to ignore. Booting it up, she found a trove of notes, emails, and drafts detailing contacts entrenched in uncovering the embezzlement conspiracy at Willow Creek. The truth, laid bare in endless logs and encrypted files, was a vast sea of connections engagement that left her breathless. Within the notes, a name surfaced recurrently, Jonathan Reeve, an accountant rumored to front quiet hands of economic deception. Reeve had cautiously lain under the radar, as beneficial hires and advantageous diversions often allowed. Her heart accelerated with the realization that this discovery, bookmarked in the league's charted words of Veronica's intelligence, struck directly at its core. Lily wondered what Veronica had planned. With her friend's life left incomplete, it was up to her to confront the legacy Veronica feared, yet challenged fiercely. Truth had lived within these walls, now demanding liberation, just as time urged urgency. Leaving Curved Pines, the laptop secure under her arm as its charged self-brokered courage, she emerged into a town uncertain, yet teetering closer to truth, the air heavy with impending inevitability. As Lily drove back to the precinct, planning her method to speak with Reeve, lines of clothes along fences felt like dappled witnesses to her impending resolve. She hashed through conversations in her mind, sculpting each inquiry like surgical precision. If Jonathan Reeve indeed played his role in an orchestra of vice, she could not tread lightly upon fragile trustscapes. Chapter 5. Union of Allies, Binding Fragments Together. The coming days blurred into seamless patterns of investigation, as Marcus and Lily each sought clarity within their collected knowledge, threading each consequence through the needle of scrutiny in both private compartments and public spaces. Together, they maneuvered alliances, discreet interviews, and quiet talks full of carefully chosen words. Yet, under the strong, resilient facade Lily had practiced over the years, there lingered bruising vulnerability. Veronica's death had not been the first time she had lost a confidant to justice's cruel hands. But this time, strength braided not only from inward resolve. Marcus stood by like the center around which these roads attaining truth eventually led. With Marcus's drive on their side and Lily's formal steps within law and governance, they ventured swirling intrigue beneath Willow Creek. Names surfaced, shadowed voices spoke their fearful testimonies, distancing them, save for one, a wordless, tome-bearing testament that Marcus discovered, Jonathan Reeve. Reeve, it transpired upon speaking, knew of the corruption, though his involvement had been circumstantial, convinced of his knowledge only inside broader complexities beneath. As Lily and Marcus drove conversation, nudging inward each dialogue's relevance craftily, more than fear emerged. Understanding replaced blustered defense. Reeve recounted knowing of the sham economies run beneath Willow Creek's eyes, the promises building vast fortunes entwined with risks too potent for silence forever. And yet Veronica had her sights even higher, singling the entirety of the network within the heart of innocuous operations, turning grime into gold. Marcus and Reeve locked eyes, where Marcus nodded discreetly under the hauteur crown off trees, whispering against moonlit isolation. It was their shared understanding and veiled acknowledgement of vulnerabilities, the necessity of realigning narratives now burdening every word they exchanged. "I may know who stood behind Veronica's silence," Reeve admitted, a furrow of regret painting itself across his features. "But it isn't just one person. It's Willow Creek itself, turning beasts from shadows into men and men into shadows. The guys, the cheer reverberating across aching pride, knew now where courage brought hope, within safety impossible to ignore or suppress. Together, she and Marcus had weathered the storm, unveiling a truth that had threatened to remain forever buried beneath layers of deceit. As the days turned to weeks, Willow Creek began its healing process. Newfound transparency brought about change, with old power structures dismantled and replaced by leaders committed to honesty and community welfare. The recycling center became a symbol of rebirth, its operations now a paragon of environmental and ethical practices. Marcus, who had once seen so many stories discarded amidst the refuse, now found a new purpose in fostering these changes. He became an advocate for community involvement, ensuring that the town's secrets were unearthed and shared rather than discarded in the shadows. His role as a refuse collector was transformed from one of disposal to one of rediscovery, finding beauty and meaning in what others threw away. For Lily, the journey had reshaped her understanding of justice and duty. Veronica's spirit remained with her as a guiding light, urging her to forever pursue the truth with tenacity and compassion. The bond she had shared with Veronica now extended to the entire town, woven through a shared commitment to preventing such darkness from taking root again. The town square, once a place where whispers carried secrets, now thrived with open conversations and shared dreams. Murals depicting the town's journey adorned walls, and the scent of fresh beginnings mingled with the laughter of children playing unburdened by yesterday's shadow. Willow Creek had become a beacon of communal introspection, proving that even the most hidden truths could lead to enlightenment when courage met circumstance. And though the harm could not be irreparably undone, its echoes now served as reminders of a hopeful trajectory, a future where secrets lay not in stifled darkness but in the light of mutual trust. In the quiet moments, both Marcus and Lily found solace in knowing Veronica's story lived on, a catalyst for change deeply resistant to eradication. Her words, her tenacity, and her sacrifice had turned a community's trajectory, redefining its identity from within, reflecting the power one voice could hold. As the sun set behind the familiar silhouette of curved pines, vibrant hues painted the sky, signaling a day cherished in understanding, a twilight promising a brighter dawn for all of Willow Creek.